Gotcha. Gotcha. Perverts. My name's Andrew. I used to make content here on this channel called Dadverb. And I made content because I loved it. But somewhere along the way, I started making videos to pay the bills because it became my job and it broke me. So I wanted to share why I stopped building what could have been a hub of knowledge for dads here on YouTube, and instead, just what comes next. If I rewind a little bit to 2016, 2017, I really wanted to be a creator. I went all in on the hustle culture fostered by Casey Neistat. I was one of the creators selected for the YouTube Next Up class of 2019 of, upcoming creators. Now, in retrospect, it didn't really mean anything. It made me feel good though. Felt like I was on the trajectory for being a creator. I made reviews that were helpful for new parents, grew an audience, and then I earned my silver play button. I learned a lot about production, sound design, lighting, storytelling, and I got a firsthand knowledge of how this whole creator economy fits into the bigger picture of business and culture. But over the last couple of years, things definitely shifted, right? The type of content changed, the platforms changed, short form dominated. And for me, brand deals got more frequent, they got bigger, and my focus started to split. Now, at first, those deals, they were a blessing, right? They paid my bills. I got to make a living doing this. But eventually, I realized that those deals and those integrations became my only focus. And every video weaved in some kind of affiliate deal, some kind of shout out, sponsorship, I don't know. Always for things that I genuinely liked, but I leaned way hard into the sellout vibe. And that chipped away at the fun of creating in the first place. And on top of that, I started to realize that I fell out of love with making content in the parenting niche. Like, I didn't want to keep talking about my kids and my family, because honestly, there were a lot of aspects of parenting that were hard, and I didn't like certain parts of it, but I still had to pretend to know how to overcome all of those things as like an expert in this space, which I am not. Maybe at one point I was a good voice in this space, but honestly, I don't think I had it in me to keep going down that road. And at some point, it all just kind of caught up with me and I burned out. And looking back, I would say that one of my biggest mistakes was quitting my job to pursue this whole thing full time. And, most people think that that's the dream pivot to make. For me personally, the way I like to work, that wasn't the right call. It tainted my love for creating content. I feel like I was making bad content. It wasn't as good as it could have been, because it went from me making things because I wanted to making things because I had to. I had to feed the machine and the algorithms. I had to improve the revenue reports. I had to close another brand deal. I couldn't take a vacation or even enjoy a Netflix show or something like that without thinking about some sort of way to record and monetize that moment in some kind of way. And I also had to choose strategically what kind of content to make, because the videos that would provide actual value or build trust with people didn't always make the most money. And this is a conflict that we're seeing industry-wide right now. For me, after a while, I hated having to battle with that internally. So what did I do? I just stopped. We were making a podcast. I talked to Saunders and Ben. We stopped the podcast. I stopped pushing the course, which actually was a solid course that we built. I failed to make the needed updates, but that was actually good. Stopped pushing it. Stopped answering collaboration emails unless it was a freelance thing that had nothing to do with Dadverb. I was like, nope, zero interest. I stopped and I went back to work. And for me, that's exactly what I needed. I love my job. It's much better for our family. But here's the thing. If we total all the numbers across all the social platforms that I own or that Dadverb owns, there's around 300,000 people who at one point were either willing to press subscribe or the follow button on Instagram and what's the other one? TikTok. That's a sizable audience. And I think a lot of people press subscribe in part because A, they were either cool with me, Andrew, and they liked me as a creator. which thank you, I appreciate that, or they got value from this channel because it could bring something new to their journey as a new dad or a new parent. Now, to be frank, I don't really have any interest in regularly creating content. For me, what interests me the most is creating content and telling stories as infrequently as I want, which is horrible for the subscriber, you, and it is the antithesis of growth for me as a creator. But I do that because I love the creative process. I love sharing deeper stories. I love going through production and working through new techniques in an edit, learning the back-end technicalities of these social platforms that are actively changing. You know, I enjoy being a part of that change and exploring new features and seeing how things are shifting. So, I mean, yeah, I am not abandoning this channel. I myself will be posting here quite infrequently because there are still stories that I want to tell. But this channel was made to be valuable to new dads. And I don't know that I am the best voice for that mission like I used to be. But to keep Dadverb active, I wanted to introduce you to some other dads, kind of handing off the torch. Before I bring him in, I just want to say thank you for letting me into your homes for the last few years. For those who have followed for a long time, your kids are probably, like 6, 7, 8 years old by now, which is absolutely wild. I've got our oldest, who you watched be born on this channel pretty much. He's upstairs watching the NFL right now. It's cool to know that our family has grown alongside yours, so I wanted to thank you for that. Now, if you want to follow me still, you can find me on Instagram at dad_verb, or if you just want to follow me, Andrew, too. Thank you. Yeah, here we go.
All right, here we go. Hey everyone, I'm Mommer. I'm a dad to 2 little boys, and like a lot of you, I feel like I found Dadverb when I was really just trying to figure things out. We had just had our first son, and I didn't really know what to expect. Andrew's videos not only gave me a place to ask the questions and see what the answers were, but I felt like I had practical advice and an honest look at what fatherhood really was meant to be like, or what I should expect as a new dad. And this was something I didn't feel like I could find anywhere else. So when the chance came to help carry this channel forward, I really took that personally. The reason it was so valuable, and the reason I think it matters, is it matters to have a place that's so useful and relatable, and somewhere where you can really talk about the things that matter to you as a dad, and to also show you what it's like to be a new dad or an existing dad. And so here's what that means for you. We want to keep the things that have always made Dadverb special, the guides, the practical advice, and we want to build on those. So in the weeks ahead, we want to continue to evolve those stories and dive deep into the moments that shape us as dads. So we'll talk about everything from bonding, screen time, sleep, or if you're like my kids, the lack of sleep and how to handle that, the lessons that we want to pass on to our kids as dads, and then maybe the challenges that we don't always talk about and, sometimes compartmentalize and keep to ourselves. But yes, also the podcast is coming back. Saunders and Ben will be there. Can't get rid of those guys that easily. We'll be adding some new voices to the mix too. And the reason we want to do that is because Dadverb has never been about just one perspective or one voice, right? It's always been a community by dads and for dads. And I think as Andrew kind of teed up for us, we're not experts in this field, right? None of us is a perfect dad. We're all just trying to figure this out as we go. But what we can do is carry the torch and use this platform to talk about the things that I think matter the most to dads. But again, it's not about what I think, it's also about you. And that's where you come in. We want you to tell us what are the conversations that you think we need to be having, the topics that you're curious about, or the things that you want to see more of. That's what this next chapter is all about. It's honoring the legacy of what's already here and finding a way to grow it together, because we want to make Dadverb the most valuable resource and the most valuable place it can be for dads everywhere. For you to go ask the questions that you're curious about, or find guides on the things that you might be struggling with personally. And that's going to be really important to you and to us. I think that's what's the most exciting part. So I'm looking forward to building this with you and with all of the other guys that you'll meet in the coming weeks. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.